announcements. Can I indeed the words chapter to say prayers?
Thank you. Please do be seated. I won't take much of your time, but I thought I'd take the opportunity to introduce myself as it's my first council session with you. My name is Reverend Exeter. I'm on the clergy team at St David's near Exeter College and St Michael's Mountain near Iron Bridge. But I'm also deputy chair. Thank you, that's good. Also deputy chair of Christians Together across Exeter, and it's a privilege to be here with you. Today is St Luke's Day, and I'd like to ask the Deputy Lord Mayor to read the reading set for today.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Many have undertaken to draw up an account of the things that have been fulfilled amongst us, just as they were handed down to us by those who from the first were eyewitnesses and servants of the word. With this in mind, since I myself have carefully investigated everything from the beginning, I too decided to write an orderly account for you. Most excellent Theophilus, so that you may know the certainty of the things you have been taught. So be it, Lord. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I haven't always been a reverend. We're not. We don't emerge from the womb with a collar. Once upon a time, I was a militant anti-theist. My previous training was as a historian. And I was delighted as I began to investigate Christianity to discover the Gospel of Luke. Luke said in those opening words of his Gospel that many others had undertaken to write a record of the life of Jesus, just as they were handed down by eyewitnesses. I love his commitment to eyewitness testimony. I wonder if there'll be an opportunity in our session to hear from boots on the ground, from citizens, from residents, the eyewitnesses, the people that we might want to hear the testimonies of. Luke goes on to say that he's collated the eyewitness testimonies, those original witnesses of Jesus, and he's carefully investigated everything from the beginning and set together an orderly account of the events for his friend Theophilus, great name and well read. It literally just means friend of God. So that Theophilus might have certainty of the things that he had been taught. Luke has a commitment in those opening verses to truth. He wants his reader Theophilus to know that the account he's put together is true and reliable. My prayer for us this evening, friends, is that we will have a commitment to truth. Luke's other concern that he's most famous for, that he develops throughout his gospel, is a concern for the poor and the marginalised. Luke is quite unique among the evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, of having a special concern for women who are often overlooked in the other gospels. So I wonder if, friends, we will have opportunity to reorient our focus on the poor, on the marginalised, on women, and on folk in our city, in our communities, who it's otherwise, perhaps in our culture, easy to overlook. So let's pray. Loving God, we thank you for this opportunity to serve the people of Exeter. I pray, Lord, that you would give us hearts that cherish truth, eyes to see it and hands to act upon it. And give us, Lord, a heart for the poor, for the marginalised, for sections of our society that are oppressed and discriminated against. And so, Lord, help us to be servants of justice and of your peace. In the name of Jesus, Amen. I won't stay for the whole meeting, but I'd love to observe some of it. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've gone through in the last few months rather a hectic time. It's caused us all off balance. In my case, all balls in the air went and they dropped down and all my functions had to be arranged because of the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. I also would like to report that also Alderman Clark, late Alderman Clark, also I had pleasure at, the word is not pleasure, but to celebrate his life. And it was, to see people, and I've known him for many years, Alderman Clark. And also, I'm just saddened to hear that Diana Best has passed too. And Alderman Diana Best. And this seems to be a lot of people sort of, we know that just happens, to be right. But I would like you to stand for a minute's silence in respect for Her Majesty, Alderman Clark and Alderman Best. Yes, you may be seated. Before I take my seat, I would like to say a few words on all three. First of all, Her Majesty, which I've known nearly all my life. It's a person that's always been there. And I almost feel when you go abroad that our country is safe. She was like a person, like a grandmother you never meet, but the fact that she was there. I also would like to say about Alderman Clark. He often used to come up to me and used to say, "Hey, don't like this when we were, and I was there." And I say, we have to move on, and but he was a lovely man. We are on different sides politically. But that didn't matter. That is the person you see is where you speak about and remember. And as for Diana, well, she came in 79, I think, at the same time as I did. And we were young enthusiasts, trying to put the world right and the council right. And we're still trying to do it. But the point is, 40 years down the line. But these were councillors who actually fought for this city. And it doesn't matter again. I know she was one of my party. But again, it's again the person you meet and the person that tries to put their life or their bit towards the council and to make life better for others. Never always works. It's done hard work sometimes. And we all know that of us who I'm looking at down in the council chamber. But I would like to ask you if there is anybody who would like to say a few words on those who have just passed. Councillor Byron.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It's becoming a bit of a habit, but it really obviously goes without saying, the respect for the late Queen. What we've done here in Exeter was first class, regarded around the county, and many councillors turned up, and we've done the books of condolence and all the staff and everybody who've done everything well on that. And I know there's a report, but that's gone to the executive. If I could just say about, first of all, George Clark, Deputy Mayor, part of a gang of three in 1984, a gang of three up-and-coming bus drivers, Pete Edwards, George Clark, and some bloke called Phil Bialik, all got elected to the council at the same time. And George became mayor of the city in Alderman. He loved Wallingford. He worked hard for Wallingford, particular passion about housing, done a lot for charities and a lot of work in this city. Finally, moving to Exeter in later life, and who wouldn't want to, came to Exeter, his family's in Exeter, Gareth, Margaret, his wife, and the family. And I would say the family were very pleased and proud that he was acknowledged with the sorting cap at his funeral. The family were very pleased with that. It's a good, a lot of people there. So I just wanted to recognise that. Diana Bess used to sit on that side when I sat over there. Friend of the family, used to get on well with Diana, so you can cross political lines and a lot of these things. And that was in the days when places like, she represented County Square, and that's when they used to have Conservative members outside of Topsham and Lloyd's all of the days. She worked hard for her ward. A good family. I really Gordon's still alive. As I said, lots of memories, and so I want to recognise the good work she done on behalf of the council and her community as well. I knew them both well. Thank you all there.
Anybody else would like to say something? Right, we're now going into the evening's business, and may I start to remind you that we have, I think, going to be a reasonably long evening. So, ladies and gentlemen, keep your points to the subject you are discussing, and we will get through the evening without too many hammers going down. And can I ask the Mace Sergeant where the hammer is? Let me see. Please remember also that what you are saying and discussing is on the YouTube. You're being recorded, and other people will be watching what we all say. I would like to say that sorry, I do apologise, ladies and gentlemen. I've missed a paragraph. So, may I ask everybody to move minutes to councils when the time comes correctly? Please do not repeat yourself, and I want clearly indicated who the secretary is. Yes. And then we need to, can I sign the minutes of the 19th, 2022? Are they correct?
I move the minutes of the 19th of July, Lord Mayor.
I'll second all that. Thank you. Now then, yes. All in favour, ladies and gentlemen?
That was like unanimous vote, Lord Mayor, in the minutes of the site.
Yes, thank you. Now I come to agenda item 2 to advise you on my official communications. We had the opportunity to have a number of occasions on official period of time, and I do thank Amara for coming up with this. that we visited many of the nursing homes to signing the book of condolences at the Guildhall, and then we took them to the nursing homes, which it was very moving that people were very grateful the fact that we had spent the time to go and see them, rather than because they couldn't come to see us. And I must say, I do thank the staff for putting in their time, because it's time spent and not time asked. It's their time that gave it to us, and that goes straight across the council. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm getting a bit hoarse. Not hoarse, hoarse. And the balance, I had many things that I went to see. To Cranford Education Campus, which is fun football, which was absolutely lovely to see the children, children playing and their time, and it's so nice to see children out playing their sports. Then we had the Chiefs 150th anniversary of Exeter Chiefs, an official exhibition at RAM, Ukrainian Independent Day at Portsmouth House. That was marvelous. They were so grateful to the fact that we had spent the time, because I know many of the families you have actually given homes to in the council, and they're grateful for what we have done. They don't want to stay here. They're anxious to go home as quickly as they can when their country is at peace. I have also received the ladies' women's Exeter Chiefs official team, where we were presented. They gave a bowl as a gift from the city, and I would tell you the bowl was really lovely. And I would say that on behalf of them, they were grateful for that. Oh, and of course, the fact that we had the baton run for the charity for Dementia and Action Alliance Group we did a baton run, and I know John Street, who I do admire him for running, what was it, 50 miles?
50?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And he walked it, yeah. What was it?
19.
Well, it could be as much as 50 miles for me. 19 is enough, and it's very Jesus, and I thank you. And for all those who took part within that, and the money raised goes to a good cause. And I must say that we do have a Saturday morning, and I know some of you do come, but do support the charity. It does go to a good cause. My coffee morning is this Saturday. If you can spend the time, and the cakes are delicious, I can tell you, very nourishing. We had to say goodbye to the Chief Constable, Chief Constabulary Sean Sawyer, who is retiring 10 years from Devon and Cornwall. And we also welcome his successor, Will Keir, and to look forward to working with him. St. Sybil's Leisure Centre was included in our visit, and news relating to that. And the Passive International Culture Centre this month is receiving their passive gratification. Clarification, is that? Certification. Apologies. St. Sybil's Point won the Manager of the Year award in Chartered Institution of Building Construction Manager of the Year. And there is a considerable amount of environmental impact towards with the ceremony taking place in this London. Is that right? Right. And that will be awards for 2022, be taking place at the 18th of November at London Marriott Grosvenor Square Hotel. Finally, the Royal Town Planning Institute, the RTDI, awards Exeter of Planning for Health and Wellbeing category. The winners will be announced at the awards ceremony on the 30th of November. Now it brings us to the Agenda 3, which offers the opportunity of members of public to advance public consultation. There's no question here. Thank you. May I, and we come now, have I missed it? I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Next business of the minutes, the committee of the council. May I please remind members, the relevant chair will present the minutes of their meeting on block, and then if members have a question, to rise on matters which have now been resolved or in respect of any communication, will be the opportunity to bring these matters. If not, I will move on to the next chair to do the same. However, it comes to the minutes of the executive. The leader will be presenting the minutes one by one, drawing particular questions to each and any recommendations so that members and the public are aware of where the decision by full council needed to be taken. An individual vote will be then taken on each recommendation for the executive piece. May I now come to the Council of Business, call on Councillor Moores as Chair of the Planning Committee for the two meetings, Agenda 4, would help the committee on the 25th of July, starting on page 17.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. May I move the minutes of the Planning Committee on Monday the 25th of July 2022. Are there any questions? Beg to move, Lord Mayor. Do you like to move on to the next agenda? Just the next committee?
Can I committee held on the 29th?
And can I, Lord Mayor, may I move the Planning Committee minutes of Monday the 5th of September 2022? Do you have any questions? I beg to move, Lord Mayor.
Now, can I call on Councillor Hannaford as Chair of the Strategic Community to introduce the minutes of the committee held on the 29th of September 2022. Agenda item 651.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Duly moved the Strategic Scrutiny Committee 28th of December. Are there any points of clarification?
Councillor Lee.
Going to minute 19, is the portfolio holder confident that the administration's action plan will help UCC meet its net zero 2030 target as currently stated? Bearing in mind that the report found that ECC needs to be generating an 11% decrease in carbon every year, but the council has so far only achieved 3.7% every year. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I refer that to the portfolio, I think, for clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you. I am confident that the team will do whatever they can. Obviously, like most councils in this country, we are struggling to achieve the targets that we set. And we do need to remember that this council proudly and bravely set the target of 2030, when Devon County Council, for example, are aiming at 2050. So we have set ourselves a very hard task to achieve, and the support that the government may make available closer to the 2050 deadline won't be available to us. We're aiming for 2030. So we are pushing against a very hard obstacle. The team is committed, they are delivering. When you look at the tasks with the projects abroad being achieved, such as the solar farm providing direct power to our electric RCV vehicles, down a private power line, so we're not overloading the grid, we're actually recognizing the fragility of the grid with regard to green energy. We are doing a lot. The team are looking at every opportunity. The next stage that we're looking at is literacy training to go throughout the council, both to councillors and to key ambassadors and champions throughout the service, who will look in turn at both large and smaller areas in which carbon emissions can be reduced. So am I confident? I'm confident that the team will do everything they can. I'm confident that if it is possible to be delivered, we will deliver it. But in doing that, I will join you, and no doubt, in recognising the size of this challenge. It is huge, and no council in this country is comfortable with the size of this challenge, and most councils are not even trying to do 2030, they're trying for 2050. So I take my hat off to this council for being brave enough to aim for 2030, but we have set ourselves a very difficult task to achieve. So I'm confident we will do whatever we can, and I'm confident that if it's possible to be done, we will do it. Thank you.
Councillor Sparling.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. With regards to minute 18, page 55, can Councillor, apologies, as the portfolio holder.
Councillor Sparling, can you address the mayor?
Oh, apologies, sorry. Well, can Councillor Wood, as the portfolio holder, please advise if there is an update following this helpful agreement at the committee to seek further information on the council's role on the community energy project pilot, and if there are any links between that and Exeter College's retrofit skills project? Thank you.
Thank you. You're going to answer this?
I'm sorry, my hearing is, sorry.
Again, Lord Mayor, I refer that through me to Councillor Wood.
Yes, it would be helpful if you do say that you do refer to it. Yes.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm afraid my hearing is fantastic, and I'm afraid with Councillor Spalding facing away from me, I struggle to hear. Would it be possible if Councillor Spalding could answer me the question directly? Is that okay?
Yes. Sorry.
No,
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and apologies for getting it wrong initially. So can Councillor Wood, as a portfolio holder, please advise if there is an update following the helpful agreement to seek further information on the council's role on the community energy project pilot, and if there are any links between that and Exeter College's retrofit skills project? Thank you.
thank you. That's much clearer now. Thank you. The retrofit program, as outlined in the skills strategy, is broader than this council. But this council's requirements in any activities that it's engaged in, and that includes our retrofit program of our own homes, will feed into that stream, that skills stream. So, I mean, it's a burgeoning need within our industries, and it's certainly anybody that's directly involved in any green technology and climate technology knows that these skills are desperately sought, and that's what's identified in the skills strategy, and that's what the college will engage with, and that they will be working to deliver. And of course, the result of that will feed that program that we asked about, as well as all of the other developing solutions to the energy crisis and so climate crisis. Thank you.
Kevin Mitchell, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Could the Chair please confirm whether the Governance Review Board meetings with regard to Minute 14 will take place, and can he commit to please update all speaking members post that meeting on this matter?
So, thank you, Councillor Mitchell, Lord Mayor, if I may. So the Governance Board was to meet this week, but it's now been moved to November, because I think staff availability is the message I had from that. So it will be moved from there. So I think you are obviously keen to know, and this is why it's come through the scrutiny, is we seem to be in a difficulty in terms of what tools are available to scrutiny, whether or not the Constitution allows a standing overview group, or we can have a spotlight review, or even a subcommittee. So I think in terms of the work that the Strategic Scrutiny Committee is doing around certain pieces of work, in particularly in regard to the net zero targets, this is a substantial piece of work. It needs to be held somewhere. The committee unanimously cross-party decided that we would set up either a standing overview group or a subcommittee. And my colleague, Councillor Vizard, and I have been involved in that process. And we are committed to that because it's such a big piece of work. We cannot have that subsume the whole work of the Strategic Scrutiny Committee. And we also need to hold it somewhere within the council, working with the portfolio holder. So we are committed to that. In terms of the governance review that I shared for the council, I think we need to have a look at the Constitution. I'm committed with Councillor Vizard to a robust, transparent, vigorous even scrutiny to ask difficult questions and get to the place that we need. So I think that we are committed to that. I've also invited Councillor Moore along to the next governance meeting because we seem to be having a debate on where the council's constitution sits and whether or not that, as Councillor Moore would say, is trumped by the legislation itself. So I want to get to the bottom of that, and if the legislation does indeed, to use your phrase, trump the constitution, then we need to make the necessary amendments to get that sorted out. So we do have my assurance that we are looking to make overall commitment to take the net zero challenge seriously, to get open and transparent and robust scrutiny, and to also make our constitution and our processes of council much more user-friendly and open. I don't think we should have any barriers. If it's a task and finish group, the implications of finishing, which I don't think we will, as Councillor Wood has alluded to in terms of the net zero, it might be appropriate for a spotlight review to me, which is today, or standing overview for a subcommittee. It's a long piece of work, and we need to get that sorted out, Lord Mayor, so that we can have an effective and robust scrutiny process. I hope that answers Councillor Mitchell's point.
Thank you. Councillor Diamond, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'd like to ask a question about minute 17 in relation to the question that I asked. And I never read it, it's very busy, but I wonder if that point about the matter of policy on the principle and proportion of any development contributions to performance agreements, I might have a reply to that. You said that there will be further information forthcoming from the Director of City Development.
Lord Mayor, so I'm trying to keep up. I'm popping around all over the place with questions here. But if I said I will do something and I haven't, I will check up with the director and make sure we get that response. I thought I could remember something from that, but I might not say send that or whatever, but I will have a look at it.
So what you're saying is you will send it?
Yeah, what I'm saying is I will see if I go with it. It's a bit different.
Thank you. May I call now on Councillor Vizard as Chair of the Customs Focus Scrutiny Committee to introduce the minutes and the agenda are item 7, standing on page 77.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm pleased to present the minutes of the Customer Focus Scrutiny Committee of the 6th of October. I've just been notified by Councillor Williams there's an amendment which we will take back to the committee on page, I think it's page 78.
the word anaerobic, it should read organic. But other than that, the minutes are as presented. Any questions?
Yes, is there any questions, please? Yes, Richard. Councillor. Councillor.
Thank you, thank you. In relation to minute 22, update from portfolio slightly waste management and waterways. Does the portfolio holder, does the portfolio holder feel the actions described at the meeting in minute 22 are sufficient to urgently address the further decline in Exeter's recycling rate from 27.8% to 25.5%, a reduction of 2.3%, which was confirmed by the Waste Performance Statistics 21 to 22. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Well, now I shall allow Councillor Williams to answer that if she will. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm going to read out the correction, if that's okay, because the clarification, because there are two instances where anaerobic is used, and one is correct and the other one should be organic. So it is in line 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, line 8, where it says estimated that 47% of current waste within the black bins was organic. And that's quite important because it does connect to your question. Because we are rolling out food waste collection, and we've just commenced the third phase of rollout only yesterday. What this means is that because a considerable amount of black bin waste is organic and recyclable, that means now that we're rolling out the food waste collection, our recycling rate will improve dramatically. The other thing that perhaps you failed to mention, maybe it's deliberate or maybe it's just an oversight, but the one thing that Exeter leads the way on in Devon is the actual amount of waste per head collected. And in fact, we are on 293 kilograms per annum per head, and that has decreased by 3 kilograms. And so we are doing far better than any of the other waste collection authorities in Devon. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Oh, right.
Thank you so much for that. A follow-up question. What efforts does the portfolio make to actively learn from other local authorities that are doing especially well? For example, our neighbours in East Devon. Thank you.
Well, we have, there is the DAFWC group that meets quarterly, and there's a meeting on Wednesday, and that's where we look at one another's statistics, and we've got all the information. So of course we're actually looking at one another. So they're looking at us, and they're doing so well in terms of the amount that we collect, and we look at the type of recycling. But we do things differently. We've all got different challenges to address, and so of course we're learning from one another. Yeah. So thank you for that question.
Any more questions? No.
Lord Mayor, I'd like to move back.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Can I ask Councillor Vizard as chair to read out the agenda on item 8, standing on page 83.
Thank you again, Lord Mayor. I'm pleased to present the minutes of the combined strategic scrutiny and customer focused scrutiny committees held on the 28th of July. Are there any questions?
Deputy Councillor Diana, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm just asking a question for clarification before the task is finished with meeting is held on this issue of the Exeter Development Funds. I asked a question in minute 26, and only part of the question was answered. So in the question I asked was, in order for a pilot to progress, will a development corporation have to be set up? A development corporation is recognised under the legislation. So I appreciate that you may not be able to give me an answer now, but I think it's important that we have the full answer to that because it informs the work of the task and finish group for all the members of the committee. Thank you.
Councillor Lizon.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. I understand that will be answered by Kareem, our Chief Executive, in due course, but that hasn't been forgotten. Thank you, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Councillor. Now, may we go on? Thank you. Can I call on Councillor Walker as Chair of Audit and Governance Committee to introduce the minutes of the two following meetings, which is agenda number 9 and the minutes held on the 27th of July, starting on page 89.
Thank you. I present the minutes of the Audit and Governance Committee held on the 27th of July. I don't know if there's any questions on that. If not, when I refer to minute number 14, review of the whistleblower policy, I wish to remove the recommendation for that minute. Is there a second, please? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And anyone to vote on this? Let us to vote.
Those who wish to vote, is the vote. Right, and all those in favour, please.
It's unanimous vote. Lord Mayor, that has been carried.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Then minutes number 15, the annual governance statement 2021-22. I wish to move the recommendation of that minute. Again, is there a second? Thank you.
Those in favour? Seems unanimous.
Explanation and Lord Mayor, that has been carried.
Right.
I beg to move those minutes, Lord Mayor. And then in relation to item 10, the minutes of the Governance Committee, the 28th of September 2022, I wish to present those minutes and are there any questions? Not quite. Thank you so much.
Now, can we go on to the next item, agenda number 11, September the 6th, 2022. Can I call on Councillor Not to introduce the minutes starting on page 103?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I now wish to move or to present the minutes of the meeting of the Strata Joint Scrutiny Committee held on the 6th of September 2022. Ask whether there are any questions from members on resolved matters in that minutes. In that case, I beg to move these minutes.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I call on Councillor Bayali, the Chair Executive, to introduce the minutes of the Executive meeting on the 6th of September 2022 and agenda minute 12, starting on page 107.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Move the minutes of the Executive. Minute 79, 80, 81, 82 is a resolved item, Lord Mayor. 83 is a resolved item, Lord Mayor. 84 is a statement, Lord Mayor. 85, Lord Mayor, and there is one recommendation here that we adopt the transport policy. So moved.
Right. Councillor Moore.
Second.
Is there a seconder on this before you take any questions? Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Diamond.
Thank you very much. I have a question on the minutes, please. I very much welcome this policy, and at the meeting I raised a technical question which I would like to ask the board.
The question of the minutes, does that go on the executive? The question of the minute or the question on?
We'll be looking to set the recommendation for policy, and I'm looking to ask the portfolio holder. The question that I raised at the executive has been looked into. It's a technical point to add in community benefit societies, so that as a social enterprise, the type of social enterprise but that is included in the policy. And I wrote to the portfolio holder after the meeting to set out the reasoning for that, so that we have a policy that applies to all social enterprises, and it's set in there so that people in the future, accountants in the future will know. Thank you.
I think this is an executive decision, is it not?
Lord Mayor, this indeed is the recommendation of the executive that I am moving without any change.
We are in the debate now. Councillor Dobson, please.
So it's just a technical question to the leader, that's the amendment that needs to be made with respect to the exempt has been made. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any more questions, please? Or points? No? Can we?
I'll come back to that point, right?
Yes, please, Councillor.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. Indeed, that is the recommendation. I'm happy to take an amendment to the recommendation. But I can't give a commitment. I need to look at this. I need to discuss it with the portfolio. I need to impact upon it. What I can assure the Councillor Moore, that if it can be done, it will be done. So I'm not prepared to accept an amendment that is going to tie my hand at this stage. I'm giving you a commitment in this chamber and in front of you to say that if we can bring it right and it can be done correctly and it's within our realms, when I talk to the portfolio holder, and we will do it. I need a bit of time to go over it and revisit it. Thank you.
I think you've spoken and the leader has answered the question. Councillor Byalik, are we continuing?
Yes.
Yes, is there anybody else? No. Those in favour, please. Relation.
That's unanimous vote.
Carried. Councillor Byalik, please.
Sorry about that. 86, there's two recommendations here, Lord Mayor, which I so move. Thank you.
Second, thank you. Anybody who wishes to speak, please? No? Thank you. So for those in favour?
That's unanimous vote of Lord Mayor, that has been carried.
Thank you.
Sorry, Lord Mayor, I've had a bit of coordination problems that put me out of sitting down and strangling. Item 87, Lord Mayor, and there's one recommendation here that we know the statutory annual status report. I move, Lord Mayor.
Seconded. Thank you. Is anybody who wishes to dialogue more, please?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I would like to, an update, please, on email that I sent on the 27th of September to the portfolio holder with a request to write to Devon County Council to ask them for their formal response to the report and its findings, and what action they plan to take alone or with the City Council to tackle the impact of air pollution.
Lord Mayor, can I ask so I've got lost in translation here. Is this in relation to the item, or is this about a separate email that you've written to the portfolio holder? I just wanted to understand which bit of it you're addressing. Sorry.
No.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. At the meeting, I raised the point that actually, all the council's doing is monitoring it. So residents are being monitored there while they die of air pollution or disease. So I asked at the meeting if this report could be raised to Devon County Council, and I followed up with an email to the portfolio holder. So it absolutely relates to this meeting. Thank you for clarifying.
So Lord Mayor, we'll do all that. We'll do all that, but it still doesn't affect the recommendation, is what I'm trying to say. We will do all that. Okay, because what seems to be happening is and aside questions and coming in on a recommendation. So we will do all that unless they want to amend the moving amendment.
Can you
Lord Mayor,
clarify?
can I just try to clarify the situation we're in? We've got a recommendation in front of us tonight, so you don't have to ask questions about that recommendation. You enter into a full debate, during which point in time any points can be raised and debated as part of that before the debate, before the decision is taken. The question element is only in a resolved item where you aren't in that debating situation, you're in a situation. So when a recommendation, as is put forward here, has been moved and seconded, it's open for a debate for all 36 of you who are here this evening. Put in your points of view, put in that debate before the decision is taken. So there is no need to ask questions. There is an opportunity for you to enter into that debate before that decision is taken. So I'm not going to try and help you or advise in the wording that you might use, but just to clarify that when a matter has been moved and seconded, it's a debating action rather than just a public question and answer session.
So do you want to ask, to go back the debate on this, Councillor Moore? Yes?
Thank you. Thank you for your clarification. I am one of the last questions, as you know, and I do apologise. What I would very much like to do is to move an amendment to the recommendation to kindly request that we, as the City Council, write to Devon County Council and ask for their formal response on what they are going to do to improve air quality in Exeter.
Well, we're happy to include that amendment in this recommendation.
Yes, do we need to second this, please? Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Now, do we vote on that, please? Or we?
Debate on that
Right.
amendment.
All right.
It's still a debate.
It's still a debate. Right, shall we go ahead,
I
please?
think we had Councillor Sparling also wish to enter into
But don't we need to address this? Don't we need to address the amendment before we go to council starting? So,
Councillor Sparling, you want to speak?
Thank you, Dr. Mayor. I am a little nervous now, because I'm not asking any questions, so please bear with me. I'd just like to make a point on this report that we have actually seen an increase in the deaths attributable to particular air pollution within Exeter since the last figures that were published. So I feel that it is not actually suitable for us to dismiss this solely as a Devon County Council responsibility. So I'd just like to have that noted, that we should really be doing more to protect Exeter's residents, especially those in the areas of the highest air pollution within the city. So thank you. I think I managed to not make that question. Thank you.
Any more who wish to debate on this, Councillor? No, Councillor,
Sorry, I just wanted to say two things. First, this is first the type of the report that we are putting out is just monitoring. We know what's happening from 2009 to now, steadily. Since we started monitoring air pollution, it's slowly becoming lower and lower and lower. The last report, which was published in 2021, which we got the results of it, we had only one of all of our numbers, 42.5 mg per microgram per meter cube. That is just in one location that is above, just a little bit above what is the target. So we are doing so well. This is first. Second, in monitoring. So the issue here is air pollution is going down. I know that is not sufficient. We want every single street in our city to be absolutely pollution free. However, air pollution, in the one that we're measuring, depends on two things: reduction of number of cars on the road. Okay, and then the second thing is the type of fuel that these cars use. Okay, Okay, now we have no control over any one of those. Okay, if we are trying to reduce the number of cars by encouraging people of using other ways to get to the city centre, to get to work, to do other things, but still the preferable mode of transport now is the car, and this is mainly because we haven't got very much alternative. Public transport is dire at the moment, and it's getting worse, not better. So we can't start asking people to not use your cars and use public transport when we don't have that public transport. So that is our issue we have to solve. Not everybody can cycle, not everybody can walk, and not everybody can take public transport because I've just said why. So it is, we have to be realistic about this. I'm totally committed that we keep, I want to have the best air around in Exeter, but this is just not depending on Exeter City Council. We're just doing the monitoring, we're trying to do things, etc. I totally agree that we should be working with Devon County, but they're also facing the same situation. I mean, as I said now, because of the political situation, because of the energy crisis, all of that, people are depending yet more on cars, not less. So, and even using more cars with the like than before. But this is the situation, you know. So what else can we do? Thank you.
Councillor Watson.
Just, I think, for clarification pretty much, the recommendation is that we note the annual report, which is what we have to do. We've accepted there has been an amendment to that. I think to answer Councillor Sparling, it informs decisions that we make moving forward, but as very well articulated, we do not have control over the things that we would like to do.
Are we, there's no other speakers? Sorry, Councillor Wright. Lights.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask about the source because I haven't seen this information that more people are dying in Exeter from air pollution. The government data that I looked at from the local air quality management report says that air pollution in Exeter is lower than before the pandemic, and it's actually lowest for one of the lowest regions in Devon. So I don't understand how very low deaths are attributable to local air pollution.
Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify where it came from, it's actually within that report, the report that we're facing. It is Public Health England's latest figure, and that is in contrast to the previous report that we had. So just to clarify that, thank you.
All right. No more speakers?
No.
Right, thank you. Can we go to this is to vote? Yes, your recommendation as amended, please. Those in favour?
Unanimous vote on that.
Thank you. Carried. Right. Number
Minute 89, Lord Mayor. It's
88.
88. Oh, yes. How could I possibly miss this one? Recommendation, Lord Mayor, which I move at this stage.
Right. Second is right. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Result, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I just want to welcome this. I think it's nicely adjacent to the previous item we were discussing on air pollution. What a contribution the Arboretum on Totcham Road, one of our busiest main routes. How important that's going to be, what contribution that will make. And I think that does demonstrate this council's commitments to green spaces and to doing what it can within our powers to tackle air pollution and climate crisis. And I would just note that both the Northbrook site and, of course, the Clifton Hill site in my ward could easily have been developed completely for housing. That would have brought in a receipt for the council, a much needed receipt. It would have helped us financially, enormously, but we didn't do that. That was the right decision, in my view, a balanced decision on Clifton
place of peace and quiet and biodiversity in absolutely the key and very busy route. So I just wanted to say that to welcome this minute. Thank you.
Thank you. No more? Right, thank you. Can we get, oh, Councillor Ledbetter.
Can I just say, first, apologies my name is Mark. I also want to this, it's with my county council position. So I'll be really pleased to hear what discussions we've had with the county council and how we progress those.
Right, can we go to the vote again? Or do you wish to?
Okay.
Councillor? Did you put your hand up? Did you put, no, all right. Got all those in favour? You want wish to
just to say, in finishing, there's nothing other to add than what Councillor Ledbetter said. We'll get back to see how the county council can assist with this, what we're trying to do there. But it is the Wildlife Trust in the main who are doing it. But any money from the county council.
As this is a recommendation, can we those in favour, please? Unanimous.
That's unanimous, Lord Mayor, that has been carried.
Thank you. Councillor Bialik, 89.
Thank you. 89 is a resolved matter, Lord Mayor. 90 is a resolved matter. 91, a resolved matter. 92, also a resolved matter. I so move, Lord Mayor.
Thank you.
Move on to the minutes of the 4th of October, Lord Mayor. Minute 93, minute 94, minute 95, which was an update. Minute 96, 97, 98, Lord Mayor. Exeter Corporate Plan 22-26. There are two recommendations which I move, Lord Mayor.
And I second
Thank you. As this is open for discussion, please. Anybody? Councillor Diana.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you for bringing forward the updated, the new corporate plan. I appreciate that there was members briefing on the corporate plan, but this was cancelled because of the passing of Her Late Majesty the Queen. However, if the leader decided to reach out to opposition groups, then maybe we could give some feedback now, because we have had an opportunity to do so before. We very much welcome the ongoing commitment to improve the energy efficiency of the council's housing stock. That's really appreciated by tenants of the council. And we also know that the council's assets is a commitment to move to net zero. But it is concerning that the leader's previously stated commitment to leading the programme of retrofit across the rest of the city is absent from this plan. So that's not only good for the city homes, but also will help reduce running costs for their occupants. We very much agreed and welcome the commitment to deliver 500 new council homes over the next 10 years. And I'd like to commend again the fact that these are built to passive house standards. This is really, really good. And this will help with reducing the cost of living. However, the plan does set out the high price of living in the city, whether buying or renting. And I'm disappointed that there is no commitment to increase the number of affordable homes, truly affordable homes, by other means, such as through the planning system, or a commitment to affordability in the council's property company. Exeter City Council has twice declared a nature crisis. But there's nothing in this plan that sets out a commitment to tackling this nature emergency as the council declared. There's only a passing mention of cutting grass. The emphasis on net zero and decarbonisation is very much welcome, and I do agree with the portfolio holder that we have an absolute massive task. And I very much welcome a commitment from the leader to explain that if the Liverpool Exeter housing development will actually be carbon neutral in construction itself. And finally, the goal, it says in the plan, is to roll out curbside food collection across the city. And can the leader confirm that the rollout will be complete by the intended end of this 4-year plan? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else? No? Can we go, is it, yes, well, to the, let me go, Councillor Bialik, are you answering?
Yeah. Thank you, Lord Mayor. Well, the corporate plan is basically a vision on how we see the city going forward. And yes, it's based upon my group's manifesto. There's no secret about that. It's what we bring forward. We are, after all, the ruling group. And you raised a number of questions here, and I feel like I'm a Prime Minister's questions time about a lot of things. And sort of the corporate plan can allow you to ask me a question about really anything and everything. And it's a good test for me. It really is a good test for me. So under the retrofit, we have a question. We have a question coming up on retrofit. And I think much of what you've answered there, I don't know if you've talked to Councillor Sparrow about these things, but I will be able to give her an answer which may satisfy some of them. So I'm not dodging it now. I don't want to lose the impact on the question that follows. Affordability is very, very interesting. I'm not sure. A brave politician at the moment about affordability, you've got to even build it first. You've got to build that place first. That's what you've got to do. We have a commitment. This vision, I'm talking about the vision of the corporate plan, is quite clear that we want to reach net zero by 2030. We're going to do, as the portfolio holder said, everything possible. And I'm not saying you're trying to do it, Councillor Moore. You catch me, I'm not saying that as to carbon neutral net zero. Okay? Because they are two different things, as you've told us in the past. And I'm learning all the time. So we're doing everything we can. When we bring proposals forward, extra city living, they are passive house. Okay? But passive house is not the only offer out there. And I'm not saying we're diverting, I'm just reminding it, it's not the be-all and end-all. As my answer to a further question about housing will come up later on. So we will do anything and everything we can. And it's quite a difficult thing. So this is the plan, and you know why we couldn't have the members' briefing, because it was the morning period of the week. I undertook to say we would have a further briefing. The officers are very busy. There will be briefings coming up shortly on the budget, which I've got my exit into at the moment. There are a lot of the officers and OMB need a bit of, that's the management board, the operational management board, need time to look at that. Because we are addressing 2.3 million, which you've all been told, and we're also addressing the potential energy impact. So I can say that what we're looking at. £2 million on top of that. Okay? So there's a lot going on. We are working with it, and I'll give the answer about the housing question. We'll come up about the about what we're doing with affordable housing. So I don't want this left that somehow points are being made about our inadequacy on what we're trying to do about any of this. So I hope I'm going to deal with the retrofit, the affordability also will come up within my answer later on. We are trying to go to net zero, and that is the intention. That is the corporate plan. That is the corporate plan, which is quite imaginative, and I will commend this representation to this council. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Bialik. Now we go to the vote, please, on this. Those in favour? Those against? Or did you finish counting yet?
As you mind, we finish counting.
We're sorry. Good, sorry, councillors. Those in favour?
$27.
Right, those against, please. And those abstaining.
Three abstentions.
Four. Four abstaining.
Also, five abstentions with that.
Yes.
So the recommendation has been carried.
Carried, thank you. Councillor Bayer.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Minute 99, catering provision at Edwards Court. Here is the recommendation with 2 parts, Lord Mayor. I formally move.
Any discussion, please? Those who wish to speak, please. Councillor.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I really want to promote this recommendation. I do, however, point out that there has already been a failure to get somebody to take up a contract on this. I speak from background in hospitality, and the way in which food costs are rising and staffing costs are rising means that no contractor will do it. It's therefore vitally important that we support this project and that we commit ourselves to effectively funding the staff and putting forward this project in its proposed state. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Denning, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Knox, as well for that. Obviously, we've worked really hard to get this through, and if only been there today at the opening of Exeter Court, you could realise what a wonderful place it is for people who need care, attention, and loving, can I say, to have a great home and have somewhere nice to eat, because if you've been there, you know it's a beautiful restaurant and whatever. So I fully support this recommendation. I have spoken today to Lawrence Blake, and things are moving along with respect to solving this problem. And can I just say that if anybody gets a chance, when we have the cases and patients come and have a visit around this court, please come, because it's something that Exeter City Council should be extremely proud of.
Thank you, Councillor. That we, this is recommendation, so this goes to the vote. Do we wish to answer? Sorry,
just to pick up the point on what Councillor Denham said. If anybody who hasn't seen SFT yet, it's a nice day, go there in the morning, and then perhaps you can arrange something to Edwards Court in the afternoon. And then if you're still unsure about our commitment to passive house and energy reduction, come and see me. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Those in favour, please. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Bailey, please.
Minute 100, Lord Mayor. Here is a resolved matter, Operation London Bridge.
No questions.
Minute 101, Lord Mayor, amendments to the scheme of delegation. This is a recommendation. I move.
Secondly.
Thank you. Any questions on this one, please? On that much of the discussion? Can you, any questions? Anyone who wish to? No, so we go straight to the vote, please. Those in favour?
That's unanimous vote, Lord Mayor, that has been carried.
Right, thank you.
Minute 102, Lord Mayor, minor amendments of parliamentary polling districts and polling places for Exeter and East Devon constituencies. There is one recommendation which I move, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Second, please. Thank you. Councillor Hannaford, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I would like to have seek some sort of explanation on this item and protest at the decision that the executive has actually made on this. We were consulted as board members about this because we weren't happy about these changes, And I took time to engage with the process, and when I made my response back with the support of board colleagues, I also took the time to copy an executive members at the time to make sure that our views were very clear. We are not happy that the West Exeter Children's Centre is not being used as a polling station, or with that is the proposal in here, because we are concerned that the polling districts in St Thomas are getting too big and inaccessible. This is at the instigation of the West Exeter Children's Centre, and I will declare an interest because many years ago I was a governor of the Cowick First School, and then a founder governor of the Children's Centre, was a governor there many years. However, there is no need to stop that polling district being used because it is a self-contained built separate walkway that does not affect the operations of the Children's Centre. So I would have thought and expected that the council would use its powers to insist that that polling district is still used. The proposal is to then move all of those voters from that district to St Thomas, which is a very busy polling station. It serves a big area, and if you had any local knowledge, you would know that at peak times and during the general election or during the referendum, it has large queues there, which go right around into the car park. So I've got concerns about using that, doubling up that polling district as well. And I also used the opportunity, Lord Mayor, in terms of polling districts in St Thomas. I was very concerned with others at the last local elections at Bow Hill School, where voters were in fact knocked out of the polling station and had to use heavy gates and an intercom system to actually access the polling station, which I personally still think is in breach of the legislation, and they weren't allowing cars in for people with disabilities as well. So I think we've got a serious situation in St Thomas, and I hope that this will be looked at again, and I will not be supporting this because I'm not convinced St Thomas to be able to have accessible polling stations and not have barriers to voting.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else wish to speak? No, Councillor Fire.
Well, a very passionate response from Councillor Anne, but I understand the ward councillor shouting the things on his board. As he knows, I cycle around those polling stations on polling days, so I fully understand what's going on. I think I'm right, and Nod will do it from John Street. I think the colour actually, because Councillor Hamilton has asked us to take what colour we can. I think I'm right in saying this is where you're parked for on this one, Mr. Street. You actually made the decision, from what I understand. But having said that, I'll let you, if that's appropriate, is you raised some other issues about capacity. I think we could have discussions with you, Mr. Street, to say if there is a need to have more than one box, because that happens in some polling stations. There are two boxes for two particular areas, so that will diminish queues and everything else. What I'm saying, I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm saying we can look into all these things, make sure that Councillor Hanford's concerns about those sorts of concerns are dealt with. And we can also talk about what gates, because there was a bit of an issue, but that's not about this minute. There are other issues, we can talk about those issues. But it would be interesting to know where the authority lies on whether or not this decision truly rests with us or your good self, Mr. Street.
As this is a regular point, I wish to answer that.
If you wish me to, Lord Mayor, I probably may help the debate. Thank you, Leader. What the council is being asked to do here is review the polling district. Polling district, the recommendation here is that those two polling districts, which are currently served by the West Exeter Children's Centre and the church hall, are combined into one. The polling station is then my decision where that will be. As returning on to my decision where that polling station will be within that polling district. You are polling stations across the authority already, where we have what's called double polling stations in one room. This is the suggestion that would be made if I decided that the polling stations would be combined into that polling area, which it probably would be, but it would be a double station within, so there would be, as there are in many other, a number of other polling districts across the city, two stations placed in one building, and that's where this would be. Other issues, we're always looking at ways to try and find alternative methods to get into buildings, out of buildings. With schools, we are increasingly, I must say, coming up against safeguarding issues, which is why those schools are taking upon themselves as to their access and egress from those schools to ensure the safety of the children and others, or the young people within the schools, are maintained at all times, and also ensuring, by doing so, the school remains open on the day rather than being shut, which again is a decision of the school themselves. So I hope that got the debate, Leader and Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Street. Now we go to the recommendation of the vote, please. Those in favour? Thank you. Those against, please? Six against. And those abstention, please? 3.
That's 4 abstentions, that has been carried.
Thank you. Councillor Byron, please.
Minute 103, Lord Mayor, overview of the revenue budget. There's one recommendation which contains 5 points I'd like to move.
Now it's open for discussion. Those who wish to speak, please. No? No hands raised at Councillor Byron. Right, we go straight to vote. Those in favour, please. Those against, please.
28 in favour, Lord Mayor.
Right, those against, please. And those abstaining.
There's 9 abstentions, Lord Mayor. That has been carried.
Thank you. Councillor Byron, please.
Minute 104, capital monitoring statement for the first quarter. In here, Lord Mayor, I'd like to move 2 recommendations.
Second, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any questions required, please? Anybody wish to speak? Councillor Byron?
No.
No. Right. Those in favour, please.
There's 27 in favour, Lord Mayor.
Those against, please. Those abstaining, please.
9 abstentions, Lord Mayor. That has been carried.
That's carried. Councillor Byron.
105, major rate budget monitoring report, Lord Mayor, and there are 2 points to this recommendation.
And so now, those it's open for discussion. No hands. Then we go straight into the vote. Those in favour, please. And those against, those abstentions.
7 abstentions, Lord Mayor. That has been carried.
Thank you.
she will be dealing with it, and we can partnership.
Thank you, councillor. We go to the vote, please. Those in favour?
That's unanimous, Lord Mayor, that has been carried.
Thank you. Councillor Byron.
107, Lord Mayor, review of hackney carriage fares. This is a resolved item. I beg to move the minutes, Lord Mayor.
Right, we are now gathering, but I think perhaps a little respite for us, 5 minutes, please.
Please get started, work on the board,
Right, now we come to the evening of, and I'm sure it's going to be 5 minutes on each. But this is the time when I shall be watching people repeating. I know you would be all right to have our discussions and repeating, and I know you think there's 101. Well, let me tell you, there's 102. I found it. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue and let's complete the evening, shall we? Now, it's Councillor Bennett, please. Would you please propose your motion, please?
Good evening, Lord Mayor. I'd like to propose a motion of making votes count with proportional representation. Within Europe, only the United Kingdom and the authoritarian states still use an archaic first-past-the-post system for general and local elections, whilst internationally, proportional representation is used to elect parliaments in more than 80 countries. The UK's first-past-the-post voting system curtails voters' choice, making millions of votes ineffective and leaving millions feeling underrepresented and unheard. MPs and other elected representatives would better reflect their communities, leading to improved decision-making, wider participation, and increased levels of ownership of decisions taken. Proportional representation is already used to elect parliaments and assemblies in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. The Council believes that the first-past-the-post system has contributed to dangerous levels of distrust and disillusionment with our democratic processes and politicians. It is essential that faith is restored in our democratic system and that the public see Parliament as fairly reflecting their views. Our first-past-the-post voting system is a significant barrier in restoring this faith and all that guarantees the balance of opinion among the electorate is not reflected in Parliament. A system of proportional representation in which seats match votes and all votes count equally would help to rebuild public trust in ensuring that all political views are represented in Parliament in proportion to the level of public support. The Council therefore resolves to write to His Majesty's Government calling for a change in our outdated electoral laws to enable proportional representation to be used for general and local elections, and to call upon Exeter's 2 MPs to push the change to electoral laws to permit proportional representation and to promote the matter for debate in Parliament.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I have the seconder, please? Second. Thank you, Kevin. Michelle, are you speaking now or reserve the right, please? We are in open debate now, please. Councillor Jobson, please. Oh, sorry. Councillor Pearce.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I wish to move an amendment to this motion. It's with a heavy heart that I'm doing it, really, because my colleagues in the Labour group will know that I've been a passionate and powerful advocate for electoral reform for many years. Supported them all many times, over and over again. I was really proud when I was able to be a delegate from our CLP National Policy Conference last year and supported the PR motion there. So I was really, really excited this year that when actually supported by the trade union movement and CLP members across the country to bring in electoral reform. But what our policy stands for is electoral reform for general elections, not local elections. So for that reason, because I cannot support change to our agreed party policy, I request that we remove 3 words, only 3 words, and it is and local authority from your motion. And I hope that you'll see that in the spirit that it's meant, because I wouldn't propose a motion here in this forum and expect Green Party members to support it if it was about continuing a drug policy, for instance, which your aim is EU100, which calls for the end of prohibitions for all drugs. I wouldn't expect you guys to sit here and go against that policy and then try and fight your whole part of this policy from this forum. But it's really, really pleasing to me that so many people from different parties actually support electoral reform. And I'm just calling you all to continue and follow through on that. And the logical conclusion comes that when there is a general election here in Exeter, you will all support our respective parliamentary candidate Steve Rex, because the Labour position is to campaign for electoral reform. So your only method of actually achieving this, instead of just writing letters, but actually achieving this is through having a Labour government. So I hope that you'll speak to your support for that as well. Thank you.
Can we have a second if Councillor Pearce is notice amendment, please? Yes, we will now have a debate on the amendment, please, to the motion. Oh, Councillor, I'm so sorry. You must put your hand up a bit high. Or I need new glasses, it's either one or the other. A debate on the amendment.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I hugely appreciate those comments, and I love the fact that there's so much support for proportional representation across all political parties. And it has been fantastic watching the support grow within the Labour Party for, especially with their most recent passing a motion in support of proportional representation. And I know that the local Labour Party, with a heavy heart, has proposed an amendment to this motion, stating that PR for local elections is against party policy. And I'm left wondering if local PR is against party policy, or whether it has just been omitted and that there is actually no official stance on this. One thing is clear though, that it doesn't matter what level of government an election relates to, the voters deserve the opportunity for their vote to matter. On the Labour for a New Democracy website, under the 2022 confirmation heading, it is stated, by gifting the Tories a majority of seats on a minority of the vote, the first past post electoral system has left our democracy wide open to attack. In 19 of the last 20 general elections, most people voted for parties to the left of the Tory, yet they have governed for 2/3 of that time and are using this power to rig the system further. So may I draw your attention to the most recent Exeter City Council election back in May this year. The Exeter Labour Party won a total of 12 seats, which is 71% of the 17 available seats. They did this though on just 46% of the total votes placed. And I do appreciate your comments, so it's not, I do understand. However, we must draw our own conclusions while parting back proportional representation in national elections, but would not want to make sure that the votes of their own cities' residents mattered too. I'm afraid I will not be backing this amendment to the motion, as fair votes must be for everybody, no matter what level of government is being elected. Please vote with Exeter's residents in mind. Please reject this amendment and vote for the original motion to push for fair votes for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Sparkling. The second, this podcast, Councillor Parkhouse, are you speaking at all? Right, thank you. So you must place this. All right, Councillor Pearce, yes. Forgive me.
Yeah, I'm going to reserve my right. I've made my points for that. Thank you very much.
Well, it has to go.
Councillor
But
Since we need to stand on that, I think that's sufficient.
the thing is, it could be only a question. Councillor, is this a question? Because we're about to go into a vote.
Lord Mayor, we have a situation where we have a motion for the proposal of the second. We have a situation where amendment has been placed, and we're debating that amendment. I didn't realise the debate was closed. The situation is that we now move to a vote, and that vote is substantive for the amendment.
Yes.
No further debate will take place.
No, that's quite correct. That's quite correct.
All right, thank you. That's all I was
You want to be, yes, thank you, Councillor. So we now are voting, and be very careful what you are doing, is that you are voting on the amendment. All those in favour? All right. Oh, yes, of course, yes.
Please, can members state if you're for, against, or abstaining on a recording name, please. Councillor Allgott. Thank you. Councillor Basham. Thank you. Councillor Atkinson. Thank you. Councillor Bennett. Thank you. Councillor Bialik. Thank you. Councillor Branson. Thank you. Councillor Denning. Thank you. Councillor Ellis-Jones. Thank you. Councillor Hussain. Thank you. Councillor Hanford. Thank you. Councillor Hartley.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Holland.
Abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson. Thank you. Councillor Knott. Thank you. Councillor Ledbetter. Thank you. Councillor Likes. Councillor Kevin Mitchell. Thank you. Councillor Michael Mitchell. Thank you. Councillor Diane Moore. Thank you. Councillor Jemima Moore. Thank you. Councillor Morse. No problem. Councillor Newby. Thank you. Councillor Packham. Councillor Parkhouse. Thank you. Councillor Pearce. Thank you. Councillor Reid. Councillor Rees. Councillor Snow. Councillor Sparling. Councillor Sutton. Councillor Vizard. Councillor Wardle. Councillor Warwick. Councillor Williams. Councillor Wood. And under all there, thank you very much. So that's 22 in favour, Lord Mayor. That's 10 against, with 4 abstentions. That has been carried.
The next.
To go to a substantive motion.
Yes. So it is now lost. The main motion is lost. Right. So we now go back off to the register of main motion now, please.
Well, may you go back to the amended, but what you've now decided is that that amendment has been accepted and becomes now the substantive motion on which there can be a further debate, as Councillor Mitchell quite rightly pointed out.
Thank you. Right, Councillor Johnson. Right.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. 13,030,123 people voted against PR in the 2011 referendum that was during Conservative and Lib Dem coalition. That was 67.9% of those voting. The SNP are frequently reminded by both Conservatives and Labour that they agreed that their referendum on independence was a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Surely the same should apply to our PR referendum. The decision was made. Even if that were not the case, now is not the time to be asking government to spend time and money on a rerun of that referendum. I note, however, that the motion does not call for a referendum, but assume that the proposer would not wish to see a democratic deficit arise if the British people were not allowed their say on this occasion. I do not support this motion.
Thank you. That's fine. Next, Councillor Michael, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I thank the Conservatives for stating their position, clearly as always. But I would like to point out that the referendum held during the coalition years was not a referendum on PR. It was a referendum on changing the electoral system, and the one the Conservatives wanted to foist on us was not a proportional system, it was an AB system. So I don't think that comment stands in this debate. As I said, I was seconding the initial motion, which is now largely intact, minus 3 words, but 3 important words. A bit like at a wedding, I do, they're quite important. The reason I'm in favour of PR is that because I want everybody's vote to count, because I think everybody's equal and everybody matters. I voted, I don't want any sympathy on this one, I voted in every election since 1970, and I've never elected anyone. I don't know why I keep on going, I keep on voting, and I've never got my vote to count. Because under the first past the post system, the only votes that count are the ones who vote for the candidates on the party. I did vote for that twice, but I still didn't vote. In general elections, I'm talking about. Not talking about local elections. Let's leave that alone at the moment. We'll come back to local elections in a moment. And I want to point out that anybody in Exeter who is a Conservative voter, if there are any still left, under the age of 50, has never had the opportunity to vote Conservative to see anybody elected. Because 1992 was the last time, and they had to be 18 at that time, and every election since then, a Labour candidate. 1992 was the last time Conservatives were elected. Now, if you go into East Devon, of course, and you're a Labour supporter, you've got to be, I think, 137, and you still missed out. But most Labour supporters can't afford a Labour option, that's you. No party since 1935 has won an election with over 50% of the popular vote at that election. And that was a coalition government. In 2 general elections, and to be fair, it happened once to the Conservatives and once to the Labour Party, the losing party got more votes than the party that had those seats. We all want people, I would think, to participate in the electoral process. Low turnouts undermine democracy. The present first past the post system undermines, I believe, any encouragement for greater public participation. We as parties focus on marginal seats, those that are likely to change hands in the general election. Safe seats are largely neglected for whichever party has them. Pundits in PR, and I think there might be a few actually here in this chamber, will argue that they too are concerned about voter turnout. And they will possibly mention that we've had post-vote elections, we've had longer voting hours. But if people feel that their vote doesn't count, they don't vote. There's still those who say, there are even those who say we should have compulsory voting, and that will increase the turnout and participation in elections. I personally oppose that, because I believe I want to convince people to vote, not force them to vote in a democratic society. The other arguments put forward for this wonderful system we've got currently is it's simple to understand, easy to calculate, Street will tell us. It can be done quickly in some places, slower in others. But you get a clear result. Especially the importance of the local connection with the local MP. All those are arguments that comes at times being dealt with by a system of PR. The system we have in this country of making a basic model of ballot paper dates back to 1870, when the majority of the electorate, in the reading right, were held crossed against the number on a piece of paper and put it in a box. Society, education, participation has moved on. So therefore, I think we can improve on the system we've got at the moment. The other argument made, of course, against them is that we get coalitions. The coalitions are somehow weak, dangerous, vacillating, etc. I would point out to those people who lived in West Germany and the German Republic since 1945, they have a system of PR that seems to work successfully for them. I will point out it was the British government who instigated the German system of both local MP representatives and regional representatives at the end of the Second World War. And of course, in local government, we are used to coalitions and a variety of councils. As far as I know, the local government system is still surviving, even with PR. Over the years, both the Conservative Party, the Conservative government, shall I say, and the Labour government have introduced PR systems. Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. It's often forgotten that STV was introduced in Northern Ireland by the Conservatives to allow each community to have representatives in the European Parliament. It's established, I think, that the current government has reverted back to first past the post in relation to police and crime commissioners and directly elected mayors. It's the step, a retrograde step. I'm pleased and encouraged by what happened at the Labour Party conference this year in regard to PR. I just wish those additional 3 words had been added to the motion that was passed in relation to general elections. I'm extremely disappointed that the leader of the Labour Party has not given the same encouragement to this policy that the members of the Labour Party gave at the conference. In regard to the local government issue, I feel in a way the removal of these words puts us in a slightly different position. I am here because of first past the post. We are all here because of first past the post. And most of us agree it is not a sound system, and we would like to change it for MPs. So therefore I feel as a councillor to say yes to Ben Bradshaw. Please don't fight the corner for MPs, but please leave me alone. It's not a stand I can morally take. If the system has to be changed, it has to be changed for MPs and for local authorities. If the Labour Party and the Conservatives can do that for local government in Scotland, they can do it in other parts of the country as well. We've got a problem in local government. All of us, leader said it was effectively he's got a mandate. We are the majority party. Based on what? What do we say our democracy and our mandate is based on? The will of the people, that's what we say. So when we look at it, if the count was taking place, if there was a candidate called none of the above, he would win every seat in Exeter. 55 to 70% of the people are none of the above and don't bother to vote. The average turnout in local elections is 35%. And few of us in this room, and I'm not included, can't even get 50% of the 35% that bother to vote. But we are still, maybe but we are still here representing communities, but representing minorities of minorities within those communities. Whereas I feel PR offers that opportunity to say to every person, I don't feel a vote tactically. I don't feel a vote against them because you don't like them. You don't like me really. You vote for me because you really hate them more than you dislike me. As you do on the doorstep. I want people to vote for what they want. And I believe once they vote for what they want, more than one vote for our democracy will be healthier. And coming back to referendums, all of us remember, sadly, possibly, 2016, the referendum. The highest turnout in any electoral process in the United Kingdom. Why? because there was a simple majority where everybody knew that my vote was equal to your vote or anybody else's vote because it was a national count. So when it matters, and when people believe their votes do matter, they do vote. So I urge you to support PR, and ideally, I would like you to support nationally, locally. And I think you can solve a horns of a dilemma by taking locally out of that motion, because I feel as a council for elected vote system that I do not believe in, I'm now telling others how to run their lives, and I'm not willing to do the same myself. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. And Councillor Mitchell has a lengthy and wide-ranging and passionate speech. One part of it, though, I'd really like you to apologise for. How dare you say that most Labour voters couldn't afford to live in Tottenham when the evidence suggests quite clearly that we can. And I think that is an uncomfortable comment. Thank you.
Councillor Wood, please. Oh, sorry. I thought you might have been waiting. Any other votes, hands, please? It's long evening. No? So we go to the vote, please. Any hands? Those in favour, please, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, 29 in favour, Lord Mayor.
Those against, please.
4. That's 4 against, Lord Mayor.
And abstain. Did you?
2 abstentions, Lord Mayor.
2 abstentions.
That has been carried.
Thank you. Councillor Bennett. No, that's it. There's none. Yeah, it doesn't. Right. Councillor. Yes. Right. Councillor Pierce, please. Can you put your notice of motion forward?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. What I'd like to do is just, if everybody can, take the motion as read, and we'll move to the debate this time. Please happy with that, please.
Seconded, please, at this time. Very novel, but never mind. Please, then the amendment to the motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Pierce for bringing forward this motion, and we have an amendment to suggest, to make, which we feel will add to it, and it's a very difficult amendment because it's a very rapidly changing situation. So the amendment is to restore the £20 uplift to universal credit and double this uplift to £40 a week. And at the end of the sentence, support available to all claimants through the welfare and benefit system as in line with inflation. And then a final amendment in light of the announcement by the latest Chancellor to continue to support families and businesses after the 23rd of April 2023 in regard to any increased energy costs. So that's the amendment. I think it's quite self-explanatory, and I'll just remind members that we previously discussed the removal of the £20 uplift to universal credit and the impact that this has had on residents in Exeter. Thank you.
Seconder, please.
Lord Mayor, if I may, I think we're quite happy to accept those amendments. I mean, just with a slight caveat, I wouldn't necessarily want to put an amount to the universal credit uplift. I think inflation was 7% not many months ago, it's 11% now. Who knows what it could be when we're facing our 7th Tory Chancellor in a few months' time. And if we can have a direction of travel, then it needs to be uplifted. But
is an amount required really.
Yes, Councillor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Pearce. May I suggest that instead of especially the end of this double £40 a week, say an increase, an uplift this at least, or more, at least £40 a week, so they've got scope for increasing it more. But with the in line with inflation, would also enable that increase with inflation too. But the point is that we need to ensure that the most vulnerable in our communities have the money that they need to survive. And I'm really, like I imagine most people here, is that we're very concerned about the impact this will have on people.
Now, can we have a second? Make sure that we have a second.
I think normally, as Councillor Pearce has accepted, I think that amendment with that proviso of at least £40, is Councillor Walls, as the original seconder of the motion, happy to accept that? In which case, what you now enter into is a debate on that amendment as amended, that motion as amended and agreed by Councillor the mover and seconder. Councillor Mitchell wants to
Just a point of clarification, Chair, which I thought were just one word was missing on this occasion, which I think it should be price inflation, because my concern would be by just using the term inflation, that allows any government to select which means which measure of inflation it chooses. I think there's a debate within government about which I think we use it to price inflation, which is what most people feel in their pockets, and that word should be added in.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Moss? Yeah. Councillor Pearce, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Right, we go ahead with the debate on the amendments. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. I really welcome this this emergency declaration. We're in a cost of living crisis. I'd like to bring Council's awareness to the amazing work that Exeter Food Bank does and how much they've seen demand for the food bank increase. You know, we're in 21st century Britain, and last month the demand for Exeter Food Bank increased by 130%. Alongside their amazing work, they've been collecting some personal testimonies, and I'd like to just share a couple extracts from those. These are people who are visiting the food bank in Exeter. So one person shares, I worry I won't be able to feed my children, afford my bills and rent too. Another person says, I worry now about how I will get them both Christmas presents for children, let alone the basic essentials. Another person shares, I can't afford to buy my son any birthday presents this year if I want to keep my home and feed my family. And another person shares the difficulties this has had on their mental health. They've had to give up any hobbies or activities as they can't afford it. And lastly, I'd like to share this one in full. I'm unable to eat 3 meals a day. I'm unable to pay my fuel bill. I'm in debt. I'm unable to go to the dentist. I'm unable to afford even the smallest of luxuries. And I'm no longer able to afford pet insurance. So I think these bring the stark reality of what this government's doing to the people that are facing one of the worst times I've ever seen, definitely, in my lifetime. And I really thank Councillor Pearce for bringing this motion to the attention of all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Walker, please, Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce, for bringing this, and thank you, Councillor Parkhouse, for bringing some of the lived experience and the people into the conversation, because I think it's really important to remember that we're talking about human beings who are going through an extraordinary period of suffering. And as you said, Councillor Parkhouse, you know, at a time when we're one of the richest and most developed countries in the world, when we're sending people into space and designing self-driving cars, I mean, it's a complete outrage that through political choices alone, we are forcing people to make such impossible choices when we should actually be fairly distributing our resources now. Human progress so that everyone can thrive on it. I just wanted to highlight that back in 2018, the UN sent a special rapporteur on extreme poverty and human rights to the UK to measure the government's policies on poverty and their consistency or not with our human rights obligations. Philip Alston, the UN Special Rapporteur, concluded that, quote, given the significant resources available in the country, the sustained and widespread cuts to social support, which have caused so much pain and misery, amount to retrogressive measures in clear violation of the United Kingdom's human rights obligations. I find it frankly shocking and hypocritical that we as a government expect foreign nations to meet their human rights obligations, and yet here at home we sit by while we systematically violate our own, and not just violate them, but continue to knowingly. This is 4 years ago that the government received a set of recommendations. I don't believe any of them have been implemented, and they've gone from worse to worse in this country. We've seen the U-turns again this week. Unsurprisingly, the only one that wasn't U-turned, one of the only ones that wasn't, was the removal of the cap on city bonuses, which, you know, gives a clear message of the priorities of this current government. And it's a human and it's a moral imperative that we ramp up support for our most vulnerable, and I don't believe there's any legitimate economic argument whatsoever not to do so.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Famously in 2010, Labour's Liam Byrne left the incoming Chief Secretary to the Treasury a note saying, "I'm afraid there is no money." It was mismanagement of the economy by the last Labour government that led to the need. Labour on. It was true then, 12 years ago. Labour has failed. This motion has amended now to property cost spending. That was a lesson set out by Sir Keith Joseph. When he entered Parliament, he stated, "My main motivation was then, as it has been since, the escape of society and of individuals from poverty, and I have arrived anxious to eliminate poverty. I simply arrived in Parliament full of goodwill with passionate concern about poverty." In 1974, in the course of a series of speeches, he stated that it was inflation threatening to destroy our society, and that remains true today. With the unique challenges presented by the pandemic, and with the ongoing war in Ukraine that sadly seems unlikely to be resolved anytime soon, inflation is again on the rise. Labour has appeared to understand the problem with inflation back in 1976 at the Labour Club conference when James Callaghan stated, "We used to think you could spend your way out of a recession and increase employment by cutting taxes and boosting government spending. We know that that doesn't work, and that is why yesterday's emergency statement by the Chancellor was right. The motion as amended fails to take lessons from history into account, and we need to properly wait and see what the OBR forecast says towards the end of this month. If we are to protect children, families and pensioners, as we all want to do, then inflation must be controlled. Borrowing was necessary to pay for the furlough scheme, and I hope no one would suggest this was not necessary. But that borrowing now has to be paid for. This motion proposes tax cuts, uplifts, VAT, business rates, to suggest all that when it is uncosted, knowing that those cuts would have to be paid for, and it cannot be by continuing borrowing. The problem with keeping on borrowing is that when borrowing money is that when interest rates are low, it seems easy, but the problem with interest rates is they tend to eventually rise, and then the repayment of that borrowing becomes harder, leading to cuts in services. We don't want to see that in Exeter or in the country. I do support, as most of my colleagues do, or nearly all of my colleagues, the case for universal credit rising in line with inflation and with the RPI rate of inflation. And I hope that the Chancellor will be funding that when he makes his full financial statement at the end of this month, beginning of November. But for the reasons set out above, I do not support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Huntley.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I wasn't necessarily going to speak, so unlike someone, I haven't got anything prepared, so I should have to speak from the heart, Lord Mayor. I'm such a open goal with councillor Johnson with respect. I don't think I've got football or rugby ball ready to, or any ball to really fill that open goal. I mean, quite frankly, anybody who understands economics or politics knows that the economic downturn had more to do with subprime mortgages in Middle America or an unregulated financial market than it did with the Labour government putting money into schools and hospitals and public spending. And at the time, I don't remember anybody moaning about that investment in public services. So again, to learn lessons from history, I think you are, with respect, not learning lessons from history. I mean, I think I famously said in this chamber, I think Rosie Denham, in response to Rosie Denham, whichever party I represented on this council, Lord Mayor, I never supported austerity. And it doesn't work. And look at what we've got now after 12 years of austerity. A tired, worn out, scarred country, rubbish public services, people struggling, the financial turmoil, and what is the answer? Apparently, more of the same, even greater than before. And it doesn't work. Trickle-down economics does not work, as President Biden has so eloquently said recently. And I think we ought to take, I mean, I'm a Keynesian in terms of economics. I believe mixed economy, when we're in recession, put money into public works, and then hopefully when the private sector picks up, then we can cut that back and go along. It's worked very well before, Lord Mayor, when we've had depressions and recessions in this country, and that's what should have happened. We were told with the austerity as a short, sharp shock, you know, and this stupid argument we've got to run the national economy like a domestic economy, which is nonsense, and it's been proved to be nonsense literally every day at the moment. We see that. So let us, I think I retweeted yesterday actually somebody I thought was very good, said let's not get into this fallacy of thinking that you know, the answer is more austerity and let's not forget the effects it's had. So I do support this motion. It's been very difficult to work with such a fast-moving situation. In and out. I mean, really, talking about unfunded measures and unfunded tax cuts after the past couple of weeks. I mean, you know, it's pantomime season come early, isn't it? I mean, you know, I cannot remember, and I've been involved in politics since I was a small child, I cannot remember a government or a budget that had such devastating effects on people's finances, including mortgages and businesses, as this rotten mini budget has actually had. And I mean, completely uncosted and disastrous. And now we've had an apology from the Prime Minister yesterday, as best she can manage, and saying that she's sorry. But what about all the hundreds of thousands of people now who had their mortgage rates bumped up for the next 5 years on fixed rates, and mortgages generally? They're paying hundreds of pounds every month, if not more, can't afford it, goodness knows what's going to happen to them. You know, the party of business that understands the economy, all of this, well, it looks like it, doesn't it? It doesn't look like it from where I'm standing. And going back to this motion in terms of choices, I did a cost of living motion at the County Council in January, a fairly thorough one, and one of the key points I had in there was uplifting welfare and benefit payments in line with inflation. I thought at the time it was the easiest and quickest way to get money into the people on low and fixed incomes. We are still waiting for that, Lord Mayor. It's not, I think it's absolutely shameful with everything that's going on that the government could give tax cuts to billionaires and bankers and rich people, and all the poor people that were relying on those payments still not have a straight answer about and have the assurance of the winter coming up. Utterly shameful and unacceptable. The only criticism I've got of your motion, thanks to Pierce, I'm not going to propose an amendment, is in regards to the Unison and NEU and other educational views to expand free school meals. Personally, and Councillor Basham and I have advocated this in another place. I actually think that all children in primary and secondary schools should have free school meals across the board. We can do it I'm completely lost why we can do it in other parts of the United Kingdom, but we can't do it here. We're supposed to be more well off than Wales and Scotland, but we're always at the back of the queue for these progressive measures, because we all know that hungry children can't learn. And my fear, again, with other hats that I wear, is obviously the expansion of child poverty. So if I was going to propose an amendment, which I'm not, I'd be a bit more radical and say let's get free free school meals for all children. But it's very commendable, and I think at least it gives us a chance here today to put on record our concerns about what's happening in our city and the effect it will have on this council, because we know that everything that's going on at the moment having a huge impact on our housing waiting list, on all the demands on the services, and apparently no settlement as well as for local authorities, no adequate settlement after years and years of cuts. So Lord Mayor, I hope the message goes up to the central government such as it is, but I fear now that things are so bad, only a general election will sort matters out. We will not call for that because of the opinion polls, but can we really, Lord Mayor, afford another 2 years of this ongoing chaos? I think not.
Councillor Richmond. Thank you. I rise to support the amended motion. I wasn't going to speak until Councillor Johnson stood up. She's been on a holiday for 6 weeks, somewhere abroad. To say we've got a Prime Minister said we've got too far and too fast, and she always talks to royal we when she apologises. I've never heard we she's apologising, who we she's apologising on behalf of. We are in this situation, and it is largely the product of the actions of this government in recent weeks. It becomes somewhat delusional for me to think back that the age of Boris Johnson was some sort of golden age of calm and tranquility, and I knew what the price of something would be the next day. It is a sad state of affairs. This government has inflicted pain upon this country. It's pain to householders, pensioners, those on benefits. And I did find it even somewhat disgusting as an old age pensioner that I was told that I was going to get my inflation increase on the pension next April, whatever the inflation was, but they couldn't tell us what was happening with other benefit holders. Because they didn't have the statistics, the figures haven't been worked out yet, and they were considering wage inflation. If they could have done it for one group, they could have done it for another. These are all reasonable suggestions. I'd be interested to use these the statement on the 31st of October to see how many of these come to fruition in one way or another. And for all those mad Brexiteers in the Conservative Party, we were promised one of the reasons you're going to vote for Brexit is we can stop VAT on energy bills. They've been very quiet about that. So on one hand, I'm getting money into my bank account to pay and subsidise my energy, and the other thing, they're still charging VAT. So there's something they could look at there, and that is been called for in this motion. These are all reasonable solutions, or not even solutions. It's not a panacea. It's not even a handout. It's a start, because people are suffering. I don't think we realise the effect on small businesses, particularly the energy bills that are coming along. We talk about high employment at the moment, but there's a lot of high, low-wage employment. When you've got 40% of people on universal credit and full-time work, there's something wrong with the system. This isn't going to solve it, but at least we're showing we care, and we care for our community. I urge everybody to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, I also wasn't going to speak, but how can we stand by when we have this absolutely horrendous, unprecedented cost of living crisis, which we can see being caused by political decisions being made by the party behind us? It's a dreadful situation we're in, but I think one thing that we can do is we can focus on what we, as a city and as a council, can do to help. So I hugely welcome this motion, and I'm grateful for the support that we as a council can provide, and I think that we can go further. I think that we can start to bring measures in place to increase the options for a circular economy. This is one way that we can help all of our residents in this city and in the country to have a good standard of living when their wages don't grow, by increasing the opportunities for a circular economy, by increasing the ability through the licensing system and so forth to have things like repair campaigns, to have things like lending libraries for tools, etc., to enable communities to take ownership of their own situations and solve situations when their wages are not growing, but their energy prices are rising. And what we can also do to help mitigate this rise in energy prices, which is caused, as we know, by factors way beyond this chamber, way beyond this city, is we can assist with renewable energy. We can assist and drive forward retrofit programs, which mean that the cheapest energy you have is that you don't need. The cheapest energy you have is that when you don't have to switch the heating on because your house is a passive house home. And if we do need energy, we can help to have a program called renewable energy in this city, which people and businesses can access to enable everybody to try to get through this massive cost of living crisis. Thank you.
Councillor Watts, do you wish to speak?
To be honest, I know we have to be brief on this, and actually I would just get my mouth shut. I think Councillor Johnson may have said all of my speech, so I'm going to make a speech towards the end earlier. If there's one shared belief across this chamber, I'm starting to wonder about this, is that there is a cost of living crisis gripping this nation. All of us can feel the need to tighten our belts and cut spending from our life. However, the Institute of Government confirms that the cost of living will impact more on poorer households, with whom fuel and food bills are a large percentage of our family budget. Families across Exeter and the country will be making terrible decisions on whether to feed their families or heat their home, choose to eat an uncooked meal so that they can turn on the fire to eat one, but food banks are recording an increase in demand, but at the same time experiencing their own crisis in their own running costs. But the impact is not as simple as being chilly or hungry. The World Health Organization estimates suggest that around a third of the higher numbers of deaths occur with winter weather compared to summer, and it's due to cold homes. In a particularly cold winter where energy prices are unaffordable, there is a significant risk that this will be higher. Increased poor health may also place great strain on health services, which already experience severe pressures, and that's set to get worse in the winter generally. We cannot ignore the outside influences that have led us to this crisis, including the war in Ukraine and the COVID pandemic impacting on bulk crops that led to the production of cheap bulk foods. And we were discussing earlier about the indexes that we need to link ourselves to. If we were really going to be technical, we go to find students' index that looks at the impact on poorer people and the things that they buy, not the expensive things that other people buy that are not seeing inflation generally. Would say, look up Heinz Foods. It's very interesting news. We can't ignore the influences, but we should also look at the impact of 15 tax rises by our current low tax government. The effective wage benefit freezes, which result in a real-time reduction in incomes. The mini budget, which has caused untold problems to mortgage owners and to businesses, and its U-turns and the impact they have on the economy, and the impact of Brexit on wholesale food prices, but at least we've got pork markets, so everything's going to be fine. This situation is not acceptable when we live in a developed country such as ours. We should not let the most vulnerable in our society suffer when their actions our government can and should take. And I did urge the whole of this room to vote for it.
Anyone? Councillor Pierce, please. I'm going to sum up.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. If nobody else wishes to speak, I'll just sum up. Sorry.
Councillor.
Yeah.
Did you have your hand?
I reserve my right to speak when I speak.
Not technically, no. If you want to second this, but the last person to speak now will be Councillor Pierce. That's why any information.
Thanks for the clarification. Thank you, Lord Mayor. I think this is the third emergency declaration this council has made in the last few years. The other two were the climate emergency and the ecological emergency. And I can understand why we would need to make a declaration about what is global, worldwide issues. I think it's unbelievable to me that we haven't made a declaration of an emergency for a situation that has been almost entirely brought about by our own government. The harm that they're setting about doing to our people. There's been lots of really good contributions so far, so I just want to keep it ready to one point to address Councillor Jobson. Unfunded, every one of these policies is National Labour Party policy. Rachel Reeves has been very clear to set out how they will fund all of them. The unfunded nature is coming from the bankers' cap, from the diminishing the additional rate of income tax. All these are unfunded, not our motions.
It's really interesting to hear Councillor Reid talk about demand-side interventions, because that is exactly what we need to do, and that's what this Labour Party, this Labour Council has been doing for years with our retrofit scheme. You know, it's the biggest saving you can give to people. It puts money directly back into their pockets. They're not having to pay for the crazy, energy prices that they are currently. Because even though the unit price has been capped, it's still twice what it was this time last year when people were struggling anyway. Who knows what it will be in 6 months' time when the current, if it lasts that long. I mean, when we came into the room, that was the policy. Who knows if it still is? It's madness. But I just want to share two little anecdotes quickly. One, I think, has become quite a famous viral clip now from the Hartlepool by-election a couple of years ago, where the Labour candidate there said that he wanted to abolish food banks. And there was a guy who said, look, I can't vote for that. I just cannot vote for a party that wants to abolish food banks. Because he couldn't understand that actually what we were going to do by abolishing food banks was mean that he didn't need to go there. Because it has become such a part of this government's society that they've completely laid waste to. And means that so many people, every day, their existence is only sustained by going to a food bank. That is not right. And that is the kind of challenge that we need to get past. And the other experience anecdote I want to share is really happened on Saturday. And I was completely gobsmacked. I was out talking to residents in the ward, as me and my other ward colleagues often are, potentially in different places, but we often bump into each other while we're out and about. And I was in the area, I won't say where, because I don't want to identify the person, but I was just shocked. They were so upset. They've been building their life in this area for more than a decade. They lived in that same property in their late 50s, and they were coming to the time where they had to remortgage. And they simply cannot afford the remortgage to be paid off before their retirement hits under the current system. The price of it has gone up so much. So they're having to put their house on the market now and move from where their friends, their family, their community that they engage with this. And that is entirely as a result of the mini budget and the havoc that caused. And we might have spent, or the Bank of England might have spent 65 billion trying to rectify that, and the pound might be back to 113 to the dollar as it was before all that. But it's a huge, huge cost, and that will be continued to be met for years to come now. People have got a 2-year fix, a 5-year, a 10-year even, some people did, to try and mitigate the impact of any future fluctuations. They're going to be paying more for their mortgages forever. And that has a knock-on as well for people in rented accommodation, because they're paying somebody else's mortgage, and that cost's going to go up. So the situation is going to be even worse here in Exeter, because we've got a situation where we've got lower than average wages compared to the national picture and higher than average housing costs. And that's just going to be completely exacerbated by what your party, your government have done. So to stand there and talk about things from 2010, when actually, the greatest thing Therese Coffey could talk about at the conference was 2 weeks as a target to see a GP. And that's the level of aspiration that we've been brought to after 12 years of this day. When our party was last running this country, 2 days, that was the target. And there were even people complaining that was too quick a time for them, because they couldn't plan their lives to get time off work. 2 days, 2 weeks is an aspiration. I mean, just, thank you to everybody who's spoke on this motion, and I hope you can all support it. Thank you.
Councillors, can we now come to the vote, please? All those in favour, please?
In favour?
Yes, those voting against, please.
3 against, Lord Mayor.
And abstention, please. For me.
2 abstentions, Lord Mayor. The recommendation has been carried.
Thank you. Well, that's now. Thank you, members. Now we come to agenda 16, which relates to questions from members in accordance to standing orders number 8. Please, members. Members will have been sent a copy of questions received separately. Can I please remind all councillors that questions and answers will be given without debate? Those questioners who are present are entitled to a supplementary question, again, which should be put and answered without debate. Oh, Councillor Lee, please, where I'm, oh, sorry, I do apologise. I haven't got a copy of this, so I do apologise.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, following the revelation of the recent planning directorate that in 2021, Exeter City Council only built 6 affordable homes, will the leader please launch an inquiry as to why that figure was so low? And can the leader let us know how many have been built in 2022 so far, and how many will be anticipated to be built by the end of 2022? Thank you.
As a response to this, Councillor Dyer.
Thank you. The quick answer to will I launch an inquiry, the answer is no. But I think what needs to be understood is because you don't mind you say you're not correct. That's not correct at all. In his role, to explain, in his role, the planning, as local planning authority, in its role as a local planning authority, the council determines planning applications for housing development and implements the policies in the existing core strategy. The relevant policy regarding affordable housing is CP7. This sets out the sites of 3 homes or more. Development should provide 35% of the dwellings as affordable housing. This policy is implemented consistently, but can be subject to considerations of viability, which can sometimes reduce the number of affordable homes secured. Developments, and therefore affordable homes, are generally built out by the private sector. The number of affordable houses provided in any given year is therefore a direct result of the developer activity. This figure of 6 affordable homes provided in 2021 was quoted by the applicant at the recent Spruce Close appeal. This is a net figure after taking into account the right to buy sales, which took affordable housing out of the housing stock. This is a process which takes place outside of the planning system. The actual number of affordable homes delivered was 40. This in itself was a lower figure than delivered in previous years. However, we believe it's likely to have been significantly affected by COVID-19 pandemic and had a considerable impact on the development industry. To illustrate this point, the figures below, and I'm not going to read them, I'm going to send them to you, show the number of affordable homes which have been provided on an annual basis in the previous 10 years. Average affordable housing provision across a 10-year period was 96. That's an average, not a total. This equates to 23% of all housing completions over that period. So in 2021 we had 40, going back to 2011, 2012, 172, and 962 over that period. I will send all councillors a copy of that table. Looking forward, it is challenging to specifically determine how many affordable homes has or will be built in the remainder of this year, because affordable housing is primarily brought forward by the private sector, and because the monitoring data for this year is not yet available. In addition, in its role as the local planning authority, the council does not directly deliver homes. However, the positive implementation of CP7 in the core strategy will continue. As already stated, this requires 35% of homes delivered to be affordable. Looking more widely, the housing team at the council has an aim of delivering 500 homes over 10 years at social and affordable rent to add to the social housing stock.
Councillor Green, you can respond. Charles, that's supplementary science.
Yeah, exactly, very fine. So just to clarify, am I right in saying at the end you said that over the next 10 years, the council aims to have 500 homes built, which will be social reform events, is that right? And would that be roughly, therefore, 50 per year?
That's your question, yeah? Oh, of course. I thought you read the corporate strategy. And if you had, it's in there that we are going to build 500 houses. And of course, they're going to be to a passive house standard. They are going to be built by the HRA, so therefore they will be affordable and social housing according to the mix that we do. And that's what we're going to do. So that is our aim. I would say that's not our objective. If we can do more, we will. If we can bring sites forward, we will. If we can, through Exeter City Living, our private development, disrupt the market and bring forward privately rented ones as well, to disrupt that element of the market. We will try to do that. That will all be part of the consultation and the discussion that will bring forward when the revised plan comes forward.
Councillor Rees.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Following the leader setting out an ambition for a programme of retrofitting all homes across the city at our last council meeting, I would like to ask, when will councillors see a programme detailing which houses will be insulated and when? And then when will the council be in a position to share this programme with residents of Exeter? Thank you.
Thank you to Councillor Rees. In 2020, the Housing Service developed an approach to meet the City Council's corporate objective to achieve net zero by 2030. The service's strategy was to develop and deliver a retrofit programme of energy efficiency work to the existing housing stock. This focus was to alleviate fuel costs for those residents who lived in our stock with the worst energy performance. Okay. The retrofit programme has recently completed the installation of energy improvement measures to 420 properties. These are council properties. These works were in part funded by the council through the housing revenue account and part funded by a government grant of 1.6 million. The primary results from the programmes of works have been 56% of the properties achieve an energy rating of band A, 39% of the properties achieve an energy rating of band B. This is what they call SAT level A and SAT level B, very important about the energy that it produces. The Housing Service is continuing to retrofit program across the remainder of our properties. The performance results from the 420 completed properties continue to be analysed to ensure that the optimum retrofit model and work specification is deployed for future work streams. There is clearly a balance to be struck between maximising the energy performance of properties and the associated energy rating with the affordability of the works. So basically, I will explain what that means, right? That was given me. What it means is, depends how much you want to pay. If you want passive house in a retrofit, that's going to cost a lot of money. I think I would probably 67 pounds until we can get to scale. But if you want to get to SAT B, and most of these are C and D that we're dealing with, you will get to something like 80%, 85%, and 90% is most probably SAT A. Now I'm telling you, that is, I dream of that, okay? I dream of that. That is a very good standard. That will alleviate. So that tells me, because this is going to be an ongoing situation for a long, long time. So, you know, just because we won't be saying, and we've got you to SAT B or SAT A, off you go, we won't touch you again. We will be coming around again. We've got 5,000 more to do. So it's about spending your money wisely and having an impact. So a member's scrutiny bulletin on the progress to date and is currently being prepared for circulation, and a revised housing asset management plan due to be published in early in 2023 will set the delivery strategy, including programme locations and timescales. That's the HRA. Private sector housing point of view, there are a few funding streams open at the moment, all of which are detailed in the City Council website. We do not have a rolling programme. We rely on applications from private owners or officers referring people who they come into contact with for other reasons, and that can be according to financial stuff. Any Exeter resident meeting the eligibility criteria, generally a household income of less than 30,000, and low energy performance certificate rating can apply. The majority of private sector retrofit is undertaken with partners, mainly the Exeter Community Energy. In partnership with Exeter Community Energy, we retrofit around 250 private sector homes per year. This is in addition to any regulatory action taken against private sector landlords that we do. Details of obviously there's funding that you can get, visit the website. That's what I'm going to do. And as for letting you know which houses, I'm not going to put a label on the side of my house saying it's being insulated, put it empty. But what I'm saying is we're trying to get that data. So when I made that statement, yes, it is ambition, and you can see it's a big ambition. You're all passionate in this room to get energy levels, costs down for people. We've got to do it. It's a scale. It's the scale and resources. And I think with a contracting council, and let's be honest, we've had 60 pence of every pound taken from us for the last 10 years. And I'm warming you up just to say there's more to come if you're not careful. I don't think we've done bad. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Rees, would you?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you very much for that. Really helpful. Just the comment I wanted to make was that it's about the plan for all houses. You did reference beyond social housing, and having that programme laid out with the ambition. I think we all want the same. We want all our houses to be. We want to eliminate poverty. Of course, from Exeter, we want all our houses to be retrofitted in time. Completely appreciate that. So the comment about which houses, it was more about when that will be done over time, and just having that ambition, which we really applaud, but having it laid out and having that.
Councillor, you're supposed to be.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you.
The responses I understand.
Yeah, all right, fine. Councillor Farley, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Please can the leader confirm, following the deadline of 14th of October for submitting expressions of interest regarding asbestos zones, if the City Council requested to be included within the Devon County Council submission? If so, please can the leader summarise the response here, including any areas of site proposed for inclusion, as well as whether the City Council confirmed in principle to using a new streamlined planning system, and also please commit to publishing full details of the submission if you haven't already. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm very pleased about this question, and I'm going to elaborate on the small answer I've been given, because I can confirm that we have requested that City Point in the city centre is included in the expression of interest. Now, we need to understand what's going on. An investment sum came up. It was something to get people excited. That's what it was, a distraction a little bit. But you have to understand the City Point. We do have ambition to do that site, and we've put some outgoing stuff in already. We want homes to rent in there, we want civic space, we want an innovation hub. This is it. And I have to tell you, I had a discussion a few weeks ago, and the way the economy Then, before it was catapulted out of control, it was going to be very, very difficult. Because as you know, it's something like 350 million that we needed then with partners. We ain't got that money in the bank. And they won't let me borrow it. So we ain't going to do that. We're not going to do that. We've got to work with partners. And it is quite clear it wasn't going to happen. Happily, I can say we've got the £900,000 remember to flatten the old bus station. To flatten the old bus station, and as I told people, I won't shed a tear at all, even though I worked there for many years, that it's gone. And we may be able to do something with that space, working with communities, engaging the bid to do something, because that site, let's be brutally honest, isn't going to come forward for a long, long time. If you look at what Sybil's Point took, 10 years, or even out at Edwards Court took at least another 8 or 9 years to come forward, we just know. So we have to do something there in collaboration with partners to get something quick going there. And that is what I've asked to do. So investment zone comes up as this part. Is this a way? Is this a way we can bring this forward? So I hope I'm not being pointed at because I'm trying to think outside the box here. Is there some way we can get those businesses that we still want some business in there, we want an innovation, whereby they did get the benefit of the business rates? That they say that Exeter is attractive to come to. They want to come to Exeter, a lot of these businesses, because it is a thriving city. I would just say well run as well, so it is thriving. They want to come. Can this help? Can we put the present civic centre into that pot as well? Because we have an ambition to move across to a smaller place for that to be homes. Okay? So I thought, is this a way? You know, officers, let's have a look at it. Let's have an expression of interest. Am I going to deregulate the plan? Did I say that? No, I didn't say it. Do I intend to do it? No. Because there's 38 people in this room, they ain't going to let me do it. So I'm not going to do it anyway. So what gives me the insurance? That can't happen, Phil. Well, I'll tell you why. We own the land. We are the freeholders of the land. The Crown Estates are there, but we have the freehold, and some leases, which that's in the discussion. So we only got to fear ourselves. So when I tell you, when my party tells you, we are not going to build purpose-built student accommodation on council land, there's no one saying that. Hopefully you believe us. We haven't done it. And when I say we are not going to deregulate the planning on that area, you may not choose to believe me. You can tweet what you want, you can say what you want, but we're not going to do it. More importantly is the governance and control of this. I want to make sure we as a city council are controlling it. We will have some partners with it, but we're not going to cede control, which could affect planning, which could affect workers' rights. You know, all what's in that document that they put out. We're not going to do it. I listened to Councillor Caroline Jackson. Do you know who she is? Green leader of Lancashire City Council. And we were there today listening on a webinar and about that. They're going in for it, but guess what? Their concern is they want to opt out after an expression of interest if in the event of. Exactly what we're going to do, exactly what we're going to do. So business rates, when that gets pulled back, we get compensated for it. So we're a non-loser, okay? We are not going to move away and deregulate planning because we've already got an outline that we want to do stuff. What they're trying to do, if I think that they're trying to do, is they want to see it speeded up. They want results. Well, that ain't happening, but they want results. But the problem is, and I'll be brutally honest with you all, the problem is, it had to go through the county council. They put forward 10 applications from 150 houses in Torridge to what we're trying to do here. Teambridge are doing something quite imaginative at Peamore. We want the relocation stuff at Peamore, if you think about it. When you start thinking about what we want to do with Marsh Barton, holding housing, there's got to be. So all this is going on in my head. So 10 is gone in. So if county council's put 10 in, I just wonder how many more is going in around the country. Can the Treasury really stand all these investment zones having reduction in business rates? So it is a doubtful situation. We've shown our ambition. We've got the partners, the university, the county, the Crown Estate, people who want to work with us. Sorry I'm going on all there, but this is important because I want to finish this nonsense already about what we're trying to do. Not in the planning regulations, it's wrong. So we've got that. We've got to wait now. It goes as an expression of interest, Lord Mayor. So if we get through that final, and they only wanted, can you imagine, they only wanted 200 words per what? That's what they wanted, central government. So somebody's up there going like this, isn't it? So when we then work up, if we got through that stage, and we got those assurances on governance, on planning, that we're in control, we've got the governance right, and there is a submission, that will come to council, that will come to you all, and we will share with all that with you. But we're nowhere near it. We put 200 words in, that's all we were told to put. That was central government telling us that. So, we can pull out, if necessary, after the expression of interest. So, you won't be able to get that in 140 words on a tweet, but please can you tweet it positively if you want to choose to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sparling, supplementary.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you for that response. I would just, if you would allow me, just like to point out that it was just a simple question. I was not trying to score any points or tweets about it. I just wanted the information, and so I appreciate it if you can please publish the information for us so that we have it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, members. Can I just say thank you to you. It's been an interesting evening, let's put it that way. So would you like to join me at the parlour for refreshment? No refreshment? Yeah, we no refreshment. Anyway, good evening, ladies and gentlemen.